Good day, everyone. How are you? How do you actually input the data into your weekly spending plan in order to actually get to the point where you can begin tracking? But I realized that many of you still had questions around how to actually facilitate and conduct this weekly meeting with yourself. So I'm actually going to model that for you tonight. I'm going to demonstrate and how to set the environment and the context to have this meeting. But first, let's start out with our scriptural focus, and then we'll get right into the agenda and the nuts and bolts of this actual session. So, my producer is going to help me out here and pull up our presentation for today. And so this week, again, we're really focusing on how to actually conduct your weekly financial household review. So we talked about the big three. We talked about track it, plan it, and review it. So this is the third piece of that three-part system. So again, we looked at our monthly tracker document first. Then we went into the actual spending plan template. I got deep into it and actually showed you step by step how to fill out the weekly tracker. This week, we're going to talk about how to actually set up the weekly meeting. So for those of you just joining, spending some quality time with us on a Wednesday night on this Thanksgiving Eve, well, hopefully this is helpful to you and it will be time well spent and something we can all give thanks about, being able to manage our resources and be good stewards of the finances that the Lord is blessing us with. So our theme really is about consistency. So as we go into the next slide, we're going to look at our scriptural focus for this week. So for this week, our scripture comes from Luke. So Luke 14 and 28. Let me read that for you, set the context, and then we'll get right into it. Suppose one of you wants to build a tower. Won't you first sit down and estimate the cost to see if you have enough money to complete it? So, what is the translation for today's application? How do we build this into our life today? So, every wise builder, whether it's of wealth or of your life, you first need to sit down regularly and weekly and take stock of where you are. And really, as the scripture says, count the cost to either live your life or to go through and conduct the goals, the plans that you have for yourself. Again, it's about consistency. It's having this meeting with yourself every single week so you can actually determine if you have the budget to do some of the things that you're planning for yourself. All right. So if my producer will pull up our next slide for us, we're going to just go through quickly and take a look at the next topic. So this is really a question. How do you fix something that you don't pay attention to? Anything you focus on, you actually can correct. So really that is the goal of this, is to take a look at your expenses, take a look at the money you've already spent, address those behaviors and really begin to make adjustments into the behaviors that you have for yourself. Though that's really the goal. So as we go into this next slide, I'm really going to focus on the nuts and bolts for you. How do you do this? So number one, you want to be like I am. You want to be in an environment that is clean and ready for you to just focus on your finances. So that's step number one. You want to make sure you're in the right environment. If your kitchen table is a busy area where you have people coming and going, I don't recommend that as your area. If you have a personal home office, I'm here, happen to be here in my studio, clean environment. I have a clean desk I can work from. I can actually pull out all my receipts. So this is something I do myself too. It's not something that I coach and train and I don't do it myself. I have all my receipts from the previous week. And then I'm going to really dive into my spending and really look at the behaviors attached to that spending. So as we begin to sort of go through this, number one, be in the right environment to do this work. So a quiet, undistracted, clean environment is what I recommend. If you have a lot of distractions around you, you won't invest in this work and you probably won't be successful at it. Two, you need to make sure you have your receipts with you. You need to actually have these things on hand so you can actually review and go through your documentation. So that is the very first step to doing this work. And as I pull up my notes here, so we have the clean environment, we have all of our receipts together. Whether you want to pull up your actual bank account and look at your statements that way, that's another way you can do this. If you're a purely digital type person, you can do it that way. Many of the banking apps nowadays allow you to categorize your spending. So if you want to go in and categorize that spending now, that is the plan. If you have physical receipts like me, you can actually begin to separate and sort these receipts into your categories. So that's the very first step. Looking at the expenditure and beginning to categorize it so you can then transpose those totals, those numbers, into your actual weekly spending plan template. So step number one, gather your receipts, categorize, tally up your totals, and now you're ready for step two. Step two now is the reflection part of this. So you have the receipts, you have your statements, you have your totals for each category of life, whether it was entertainment, groceries, gas, and on and on. I went through sort of those categories last week, so I won't go into them in detail now. And then what you want to do is begin to ask yourself the reflection questions. So producer, if you can pull up that slide for me with our reflection questions, let's go there and let's begin to dissect and take a look at these questions and how we can use them to manage our meeting. So reflection question number one. What surprised me the most? And if you're doing this as a couple, husband and wife, you can ask yourself, what surprised us the most? So usually you have a plan and then you begin to live life and things happen. So you want to address and document these things that happen. What surprised you? Was it travel? Was it an expense related to something you own? Maybe you got a flat tire. Maybe you needed some brakes. Maybe one of the lights went out, a headlight went out on your vehicle. Any of those situations, you want to begin to document those. If it surprised you, if it was something you did not budget for, you want to go ahead and document these variances. Because what happens is a lot of times we think these are one-offs, but they're actually regular occurring events. They may have some sort of frequency to them. They may also have some sort of coincidental nature or cadence to them. So you want to begin tracking these things so you can start to see every 3 months this particular thing happens. Once a year at this particular time, this thing comes up. So you can begin to plan and build these things into your budgets based on the timing of when they occurred. Secondly, as you look through your spending, you want to take a look and say, was it worth it? Was whatever it was that I purchased or actually spent capital on, was that worth it? Was that something that I actually needed, or was that an impulse buy? So the reason why you're asking yourself that question is to really divide and derive the answer to the question, was this something I planned for? Was this something I actually needed? Or was it an impulse? And then you want to make sure you're addressing those behaviors from that perspective. Number three, was it not worth it? So you want to be able to ask that question with yourself. Was this completely not worth me spending money on? And then you want to really have that conversation with yourself around, why did you purchase that? Was it something that someone suggested to you and it really wasn't worth it once you spent the capital on it? Was it an impulse buy? You know, we all know if you've ever gone to Costco for one thing, you leave with that shopping cart with $400 or $500 worth of things, and you're trying to figure out, how did all this stuff jump into my shopping cart? Well, most of it probably wasn't worth it. Probably something you tasted right then. That's why they have those tasters there. Probably something they pushed into that middle promo area. That's why that area is in there. As soon as you walk in the door, you're greeted by these promotional items. They're not on your list at all. And then what these large companies do a great job of is that what we call FOMO, fear of missing out. So if you've ever been to Costco or any one of these big box stores, you go, you see an item, and then you're like, I'll get that the next time I come back. And then you come back in and it's not there anymore. And then you felt like you missed out on it. So really that's a marketing and promotional tactic that many of these big box stores use to keep you engaged and doing these impulse buying type behaviors. It's really by design because they've studied people. Now, finally, you want to ask yourself, how did last week's spending align with my goals? So when you filled out that spending plan last week and you made some decisions on the areas you were going to reduce your spending, or maybe the areas you had planned on increasing your spending based on activities, time of the year. Many of us had already planned to spend far above what we would usually spend in our grocery budget this particular week. So you want to make sure you're addressing that. You want to make sure you're documenting that, and that these ebbs and flows are now things that you're planning for and budgeting for. So those are really the four big questions you want to ask yourself in reflection. Was there anything that surprised me about my spending this week? Was there something that I purchased or spent capital on that was absolutely worth it? Were there things I spent capital on that were not worth it and were not part of my budget? And then how did you align your spending with your goals that you set out for that week? Those are really the big four questions you want to look at. Once those reflection questions, and as you look at the spending plan template, there is a place to document your answers to all these questions. I think I went over that last week. I'll flash the template here as we get through this so you can see where you would put all those things. And again, feel free to comment on this. Ask us for that template. We'll gladly send you that weekly spending plan template so you can begin conducting these meetings with yourself. All right, so we're looking at the spending plan document here, and this is where we would go through and take a look at the categories. Remember, it's designed with your budgeted numbers is the very first column. So that's what you wrote down last week in your plan. Now that you've gone through your receipts and statements, you now actually have the second column, which is your actual numbers. You're now going to go in there and plug in your actual numbers. And then you're going to do a little bit of math and figure out what that variance was. That's that third column where you plus and minus and just put the dollar amount that you were plus and minus. You don't need to calculate any decimal points or fractions for this. This is really just basic math. If I allotted $200 for a particular thing and I spent $300 and the variance was $100, and then I begin to analyze why that variance occurred, if that makes sense. So again, budgeted, actual, then what's the variance? And based on the reflection questions, that's when you begin to fill out that final column, your notes. What are the notes that you recorded or the conversation you had with yourself about what was the reason why I either stayed under budget or went over budget? All right, producer, if you could pull up the final slide for us here. We're going to look at really just those steps again. So step one, you want to gather and categorize. If you're using an online app, you want to make sure you're going in and tracking all your expenses and categorizing them. You want to, two, review and reflect. You want to look at your totals. You want to ask yourself those questions and really begin to dissect the behaviors and the emotions that were tied to that spending. Then step three, you want to pull up the template and document your actual spending in relation to what you budgeted last week, as well as what your variance was from that budgeted amount, whether it was plus or minus. And then the final column, you want to fill out any notes, any feelings that you have in that reflection conversation to help you to understand why that variance occurred. Step four is to basically pull a fresh new copy of the template, and then based on what you did last week, so based on what you budgeted, what your actual spending was, those variances that you looked at and the justifications that you wrote in, Now you factor all that into your new budget for this week. So, like we said, Thanksgiving is a new week. We're just going to get past Thanksgiving. But many of us who have families and friends, we may plan to do some shopping on Friday, and that may also bleed into Monday, that Black Friday, Cyber Monday marketing that they have us all sort of attuned to. So you can factor that into your budget now. If you're a person like me and you like to plan ahead, and you've already planned how much money you're going to spend on Black Friday and Cyber Monday, and those will be the gifts that you'll wrap and put under the tree for a month from now for Christmas, then kudos to you. You planned it. You've structured what your spending is for all your friends and family. And then you can document that in your weekly plan and then begin to work your weekly plan for the final 4 weeks of the year, or how you're going to recover, how you're going to pay for those things, how you're going to settle and close your books. That's a financial term. And then how you will start out your 2026. So we all should be in that mindset of really beginning to close out our books and looking at what we're planning and hoping for, and really structuring our budget around in 2026. So I hope this was helpful for you, to give you sort of the agenda and the steps around how you actually facilitate and conduct one of these meetings. Again, we went in and went through the weekly spending plan document line by line. I did it based on a budget of $2,000, and we allocated the money. We went through as though we spent the money, and then we actually had some leftovers. And we talked about, what do you do if you stay under budget and that remaining figure is much higher than you planned? Then you can go to your 7 account framework. That's something that I teach. If you want more information about the 7 account framework, feel free to DM us or comment on any of these postings that we have, and we'll share a copy and talk to you about it. If you are a little more serious and you actually want to schedule a free one-on-one call, and I can talk to you and find out what your specific goals are and show you how to build out that custom framework for yourself, feel free. We have a special promotion going on that I'm going to talk to here in a short while. But essentially, now with that money you have left over, you can reallocate those dollars into your giving account. Many ministries and churches have end of year giving. It's an opportunity where you can participate in that. Maybe you want to meet a saving goal by the end of the year, so you could reallocate that money into your opportunity fund. For most people, most of my clients, I tell them 3 months is your initial goal. You want to have 3 months of your expenses saved. And then once you get to the 3 to 6 month mark, that's when we look for opportunities to deploy that capital into an income generating, cash producing asset that will continue to refund the account while building wealth. So that's what we teach at the Minding Our Business Academy. We teach people how to manage their finances, how to track and plan, and then how to begin to build out these custom account frameworks that meet your goal, and then how to allocate dollars to those goals so you can meet your future needs. So as we begin to close, I want to share with you something that we're doing for the end of the year, really just to support many of our clients who want to get involved. Maybe you've been sitting on the fence, but some of those tiers were just outside of the range of what you could afford or fit into your budget. So we decided to distill it down to just one absolute best offer that we could offer to you to end out the year. So this is our end of year promo. We're essentially just taking a 50% off discount, offering it for all of you. It gives you access to myself live, not just the recorded training modules, but you'll get live access. So let me go through this real quickly while I have it on screen. So we're reducing the cost by 50%. First, you get your one-on-one bi-weekly coaching call. So every other week, you can schedule time with myself. We'll go over your plan. We'll go over your goals. We'll go over your trackers. We go over all of your weekly meetings to make sure you're staying on progress towards your goals. calls. Those will be the coaching accountability calls. We'll also have group calls. The group calls happen every single week where you can get in with other clients and other like-minded stewards and begin to build synergy around this and some momentum around these goals of being a good steward. As we slide through this carousel here, you'll also get access to all of our recorded lessons where I go step by step on how to use your tracker, how to use your weekly plan, how to set up and fund your accounts, and even some initial wealth building lessons. If you're a person who's interested in building out a real estate portfolio, that's something I've had some success with. If you've been following me, I have a real estate portfolio that spans about 4 US states. So I'm based in the US market. So I can show you how to build these things out. If you're a person interested in exiting corporate, I've been able to successfully do that as well. I went from a relatively high paying 6-figure position to now just running my own businesses and managing my own portfolio. So if you're interested in how to do that, I can share some frameworks and plans on how to set that up for yourself. As we go into this next slide, not only will you have all of the things I just mentioned, you'll have access to all of the templates that we use, and I show in some of my social media postings. So these are custom designed for our clients to be able to, again, set goals, track your finances, plan and review weekly. All those things are included in the templates. And then we actually go into some credit review as well. So if you need some financial coaching, if you need to kind of sit down and understand how your credit works, how to influence your credit, how to leverage your credit to acquire these assets we've talked about, that's also a part of the program. So I hope this is interesting to you. If we can serve you, again, feel free to sign up for our one-on-one. That's a free consultation where I will go through any of these things with you, and then we can talk about how we can serve you. So I think now is an exceptional time. This is the end of 2025. Now is a good time, as the Bible says, to get your house in order and begin to set your financial goals for 2026 and really have a concrete plan to implement them. So again, as I typically will say, this is the Minding Our Business Academy. We really focus on running our households like a business and be good stewards of the resources that the Lord is blessing us with. And really, the reason why we named this the Minding Our Business Academy, because I found from working with dozens of clients, is that really when we get out of our financial equilibrium, it's really because we weren't minding our business. We were watching what our friends were doing, what people are doing on social media. And then again, that FOMO, that fear of missing out, that need for inclusivity and having the latest and greatest often gets us into financial difficulty. So if you're ready to mind your business and be a good financial steward, learn how to track, plan, and review your finances, then I think we are a great option for serving you. So feel free to take advantage of that end of year promo that we're having now. Those of you who sign up will probably, more than likely, I'm going to make a decision at the end of the year. I will probably lock you in at that rate. So there's a further incentive to be able to have one of the highest tier packages at a discounted rate and be locked in at price point. So again, if we can serve you, visit us at the Minding Our Business Financial Academy, sign up for that free one-on-one consult, or you can just go ahead and enroll right now if that's something that you've already made a decision to do. So with that, I'm going to say thank you. Have a great Thanksgiving. Enjoy the feast, enjoy the family and all of the festivities. And again, like I always say, stop scrolling, stop looking left, stop looking right, start minding your business.
Thanks for joining us at the MOB Academy. Now stop scrolling and go mind your business.